cyberspace. My name is Garrett Mills and welcome to episode 7 of my PHP development series. And if you remember in the last episode, we started talking about MySQL and persistent data storage. And so if you haven't seen that episode, it's important that you go check it out first. And so you can do that by clicking the I in the top right hand corner. But in that episode, we talked about storing data in a database server in MySQL. So in our web app that we built, we collected a user's first name, last name, and email, and we put them in a database so that we could send them a newsletter eventually. And so we walked through how to set that up and store data into the database server. So in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at retrieving that data and actually displaying it for the user in a table so that they can see who all is signed up for it. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that right now. Alright, so we have our IDE open to our web app here, and so this is the form we had open last time where users could fill out this form and it would store their information in a database and send them to a thank you page. So now what we want to do is we want to make a web page that will, in an HTML table, print out every first name, last name, and email address so that we can just see who all is signed up. Now obviously later on we will add like password protection and make it a little more secure and eventually add the functionality to send emails, but for now we're just going to print it all out in a table so that we can verify that our connection with the database and how we're handling it is working properly. So we're going to get started by creating this web page. Alright, so we're going to create a new file and we'll just call it submissions or something like that, to that effect. It's not terribly important. So we're just going to have some HTML boilerplate. Whoops. And there we go. So now we need to retrieve the results and we're going to put them in an array. So we're going to need our database connection. So we can just steal this bit from our other page and we'll just recycle it in here. So this will connect to our database server in the newsletter database using the newsletter user and the password, and it'll store it in this variable connection provided that there is no error. So we can just verify that that connection is working by navigating to the page submissions, and we don't get an error message. So that means that our connection to the database is successful. So the next thing we want to do after we've connected to the database is we actually want to get all of the records from our newsletter table. So to do that, we need to take a look at the name of our table. So we named the table people. And so this is why I kind of keep like a notepad or something nearby because it's useful to jot this down. So we want to note that the table name is people and it has ID, first, last, email, and reg date. So it's useful to just jot those down. So now in our submissions file, we want to go ahead and get all of those. So if you remember, the way we retrieve data is with prepared statements. So we're going to create a new statement, and this is going to go inside a prepare tag. Now a prepared statement is just a statement that is already formatted and it's ready to be submitted to the server. And so this is going to be the command select. So select is just another MySQL command like we had in our other commands. So like creates MySQL command. Select is a MySQL command that retrieves data or sorts and searches for data. And so what follows the select command almost immediately is what columns you're selecting. So we want to select all the columns because we want to get all of the entries. So the wildcard for selecting everything is an asterisk in a lot of languages, but specifically MySQL uses an asterisk to select everything. And so then we need to tell it what database. So from, and then the name of the database, people. You see PHP Storm is providing suggestions here. So we're going to select all from people. That's our statement. And now we're going to execute it using the execute command. So that's going to send our prepared statement to the server, and it's going to execute it. And so next we are going to store the result, so result in a variable. So to get the result, we use the fetch all command. So what this does, taking a look back at our code, is it's going to prepare the statement, select all from the table people, so all of our entries from the table people, and it's going to execute that. And then as a result, we're going to fetch all of the results from this execution and store it in a variable. So now, if we just want to take a look and see if it worked, we can use a built-in PHP function print r result. And so now we can just jump over here and test it out. And you see we have an array. Now this doesn't look the nicest because PHP is just like converting it to a string. But we have an array of our different registrants, and as you can see there's only one in there at the moment. But if we register another person, so let's just make up John Doe, register him. Now if we go to submissions, we see our array now contains 2 entries, so John Doe. So now what we want to do is we want to print that out nice in a HTML table. So instead of print r, we can just use this result variable. So this result variable is an array. So now down here in our body we can make a table. So we're going to have a table, and then we need to do some PHP. So PHP, and what we're going to say is we're going to say for each result as result. We're going to actually rename this to be results. So what this is going to do is I renamed this variable to be results plural. So it's going to go through every item in this results array. So every one of these, so it's going to go through this first one, and it's going to go through this second one. And so for every one of those, we want to do something. Well, what do we want to do? Well, we want to print out a table row. So we can just write some HTML in here. So we're going to have our table row and then inside that table row we're going to have 2 table entries. Actually, we're going to have 5 table entries. So we're going to have the ID, so 1 for the ID, 1 for the first name, 1 for the last name, 1 for the email, and 1 for the registration date. So then what we want to do is we just want to put a set of these up here so that we have some headers. So we're going to say the ID, first name, last name, email address, and registration date. And so then down here, we're going to need to break our string, and we're going to print out result ID. So it's going to get the ID of whatever entry in this table. So last name, first name, email address, registration date, just to save some time. So first, last, email, and then registration date. So now, if we jump over to, now if we hit refresh, there we go. So we printed out the ID, first name, last name, email address, registration date. So now, as we register new people, so submit query, we can go to submissions, and there we go. So each new person gets added onto the table. So this is less about the actual printing it off into a table than it is about learning how to use this select statement. So select all from people. So let's say we didn't want their ID or the registration date. Say we just wanted the first name, last name, and the email. Well, this wildcard, this all columns asterisk, we can replace that with just the columns we want. So first, last, email. So what that's going to do is it's only going to get their first name, their last name, and the email. So we can take out this ID, we can take out the registration date, and then we no longer need these down here. So if we jump back over, we hit refresh, there we go. So you can see that you can be very specific about what data you want to pull from the database, which just makes your requests faster and it makes them a lot less taxing on the server. And especially as you get a bigger web application with more people using it, it's going to be important to make your SQL statements as clean as possible. So why pull all columns from the table when I only need 3 of them? It just reduces the size of data and the size of communication between the database server and the actual web server considerably if it doesn't have to send back the entire table. If it only has to send, if you only need 3 columns. So let's try a new scenario. Let's say you only wanted a specific record. You only wanted a record where, say, the first name was John or something like that. So you wanted to search for it. So you didn't just want to get all of the columns, first name, last name, and email. You wanted to get all the columns where the first name is John. Well, the nice thing about MySQL syntax is it sounds a lot like how you would say it. And so when I say select first, last, email from people, and I want the ones where the first name is John, well, it's pretty much that simple. So if we want to search for a specific record, we can just add on to this command. We can say where, then the name of the column, so first equals, and then since we used double quotes to contain this statement, we want to use single quotes inside of it so we don't mess it up. So single quotes, John. So this is going to find the first, last, email columns from the table people, and it's only going to get the ones where the first name is John. And so now, if we jump back over here, you see this was the last time we hit refresh. It got all of the columns. Now if we hit refresh again, we only have John because it selected just the one where the first name is John. Say we wanted to get the ones where the last name was Doe. Well, we can do that too. We just change the column where last equals Doe. So now if we jump back over here and hit refresh, we get all the ones where the last name equals Doe. So this is a really powerful way of searching through and only selecting certain records from your database. So that's pretty much all we're going to cover for that in this video. So this is just sort of the getting started, hit the ground running on retrieving data from a MySQL database. Obviously there are still many other things you could do on this, like sorting and whatnot, but this is just a good getting started method for retrieving data and putting it in an array so that we can work with it some more in PHP. So we just sort of built on, and we're going to try in later episodes, and we're going to try and get this working so that we can actually send emails out from this application. Alright guys, thanks for watching episode 7 in my PHP development tutorial series. As usual, I'll be down in comments if you need help with anything, or if something didn't quite work right, or if you have questions, or if you just want to show off something you've done. I'd love to see it. Be sure to get connected with me, obviously down in comments, but also on Twitter, via Google+, my email, my blog. Links to do all that stuff are down in the description below. Be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss the next video in this series where we're gonna take a look at MongoDB, which is an alternative database server to MySQL. And as always, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.